Today, I'll show you how to sell any automation for between 2 to 5 times the amount using a simple opportunity that has really only been around for the better part of the last month or so. The big idea here is we're going to take a winning system, a system that maybe we've already built or a blueprint or a template from somebody's YouTube channel like mine. And then what we're going to do is feed that into Bolt or Lovable and actually have it create an entire SaaS-ish app for us with a one-click link that we can send to our customer or maybe even prospect if we're pitching them, which will massively decrease the perceived complexity of a system, significantly reduce their monthly software costs, and we're going to get to brand the product to their liking, which will allow us to increase value and pitch a lot more. As I mentioned, this is an opportunity that's really only been around for the better part of the last month and a half or so, because these tools just were not at the point where you could just one-shot a prompt. But in this video, I'm actually going to be walking you through everything. I'm actually going to take a pre-existing product that I've sold for the better part of $100,000, and then I'm going to show you guys how to build out an entire front end in Lovable in something like 20 or 30 minutes by connecting it to a simple no-code tool. So we're going to save a ton of money. We're going to allow our customers to see a lot more of the value of the systems that we're creating. And ultimately, I consider this like the evolution of the AI and automation industry. I just wanted to walk you guys through what that would look like in practice. So here's a quick demo. Lovable built us out a beautiful looking form that we fill out that generates a high quality proposal. I'll run you through what all that looks like in a second, but I just want you guys to know that this is what the end result of this looks like. We did this in about 15 minutes or so. I mean, this is high quality enough that it even has like a slight blur above the hero header. Now, how does this compare to maybe a third-party platform like Typeform or like Fillout or Jotform or something? As you guys can see, a form is probably the simplest application of this, but nonetheless, it still hits a lot of the same beats and notes that a customer is looking for. It's packaged nicely. It has some good attention to detail. I mean, hell, it even copyrights the company name down below. And this is connected to a simple scenario that I put together, and you guys will watch me put together, that just takes a webhook from Lovable, and Lovable handles all that logic, generates a bunch of proposal stuff in the middle, and then generates a response at the end. What happens when I click Generate Proposal is I end up with this little modal in the bottom left-hand corner. And then if I go back to my scenario, it's actually almost done already. It's AI generating the bits and pieces, sending an email, and then finally it'll generate the webhook response as well. After proposal is generated successfully, if I go back up to the top here, you'll see this dashboard is now populated with a 1. If I give that a click, you can see that this actually now provides a bunch of context about the proposal. I can go to details, scroll up and down, and just see various pieces of this. And then if I click View Proposal, it'll actually take me directly to the PandaDoc proposal that we generated, which in this case is a pretty high quality asset. It's something, again, that I've sold for up to about $100,000 or so, a little bit less than that. If I go to my email address, then go to Show, these are just a bunch of demos that I did previously. You can see that we've now sent an email to nicholassarayev@gmail.com with a bunch of information. This is the sort of system that tends to work, so that's what I wanted to demo and show you guys. Okay, so I want you guys right off the bat to know you can do this in N8N, you can do this in Make, you can do this in Zapier, you can do this in literally any no-code tool. But this is pound for pound, word for word, an exact system that I have copied into a template and then sold for almost $100,000 over the lifetime of my AI and automation business. So I just wanted to take this and then show you guys what the system would look like on an actual flow that works, that I've sold. What this is in a nutshell is this is a type form that I will fill out, okay? And that's what this section over here does. And then AI, or GPT-4 in this instance, will generate a proposal for me. It'll generate milestones and timelines, and then it'll populate a PandaDoc template. If you're not with me, let me actually run you through how this works. Essentially, I have this form over here, okay? And on a sales call, I'll fill out this form. I'll put my information in here. And then while I'm closing the customer, okay, or while I'm talking with the customer about maybe something that they might want, I have this opportunity to send a proposal. At this point, I paste in a 1-sentence description of their business. So I'm just going to be doing this on my own business for, privacy's sake and whatnot. 1-second copy is a content writing company that produces high quality journalistic style pieces. Then I put in a simple problem. So in my case, I'll just copy and paste this pre-existing one that I did, specifically because I knew I was going to be doing demos for this in the future. And then I cover the solution, and then I cover some platforms or services. So, for automation, I'll use Make.com. For lead sourcing, I'll use Apollo, scraped by Apify. And then for emailing, I'll do Instantly.a. Okay. How long will the project take? I type in 2 weeks. How much you want to charge them? $3,500. And any additional costs on the platforms, let's just say $200. Now, at this point, when I click submit, this is just going to trigger a system that generates an asset for me. it'll actually go and it'll send a proposal to a customer. And the whole idea behind the system and the reason why it was so valuable and I was able to sell about $100,000 worth of it was because it essentially just templates out a big chunk of a process that most salespeople would have to do manually. Makes sense, right? That's where you get valuable systems. You get something that produces money and then you just make it faster. So what tends to happen, let me actually run this for you, is we will grab the data from the type form that I just filled out. So Nick Sarayev, 1 second copy. That's my personal email address. Please don't send me spam. Then we will have AI generate a bunch of different proposal fields, which I'll run you through in a moment after it's done. Then we'll parse out the JSON. And I actually left these two in here. This was just like a hand-me-down from an old way you had to do things in Make. You don't have to do that anymore. Then we'll actually populate a PandaDoc proposal. Then we'll send an email to a customer. So in terms of what this actually looks like, okay, if I go to my email address over here, I receive something that looks something like this. Hey, Nick, I just sent over a detailed services proposal for 1 second copy a moment ago in PandaDoc. For clarity, the platform charges section is approximate. These are fees paid to the vendor, yada, yada, yada. Essentially, I'm just providing some context about what this is. Then after that, I also received the proposal itself, which is titled dynamically, and it has a bunch of cool value and stuff like that. Hey, Nick, just sending the service discuss. I'll shoot you a follow-up email. Let me know your thoughts when you have a sec. As I'm sure you can imagine, if you receive 2 of these in quick succession from somebody that, just tried to sell you on something, you're probably going to be thinking this is pretty professional, right? This is an all-in-one solution that contains a payment link, contains a bunch of customized information that's relevant to the prospect. We talk issues that the customer is suffering from. We talk, honestly, a whole lot more. And I've recorded a ton of videos on this stuff, so I'll just leave it at that. But I just want you guys to know that this is a system that I've sold and many other people have sold as well. So now that we have all that sort of understood, the idea is we are going to take this system, okay, and then we're going to connect it to a beautiful looking front end. That beautiful looking front end is so simple that we can actually put it together in just a few minutes. And I'm going to walk you through what all of this looks like right now. So first things first, I'm just going to save this scenario. And then I'm going to copy all of it. Okay. And then I'm going to go to a new scenario. Then I'll call this, let's just call this proposal generation SaaS. And I'm calling it a SaaS, although I'm not going to implement authentication or login or whatever. But I want you to know that that's actually pretty easy as well. I've done that now a couple of times with Lovable. Okay, now that we've duplicated this, we're going to change the input of this. So instead of a type form, it will be a webhook call. And this webhook call is just what Lovable is going to send a request to in order to generate all of the stuff we need, okay? So I'm going to do a custom webhook. We'll call this Lovable webhook. I'm just going to save this and voila. Now we have our address. Okay. So at this point, we basically have everything we need, believe it or not, with a couple of minor changes to actually produce our full app. I'll walk you guys through what it looks like in Lovable. It's actually crazy how simple this is. And by the way, you don't just do this for finished systems. You can actually do this to pitch people. Somebody the other day just sent me a full complete SaaS for a video that I made and said, hey, Nick, I saw that you made this awesome video. Here's an entire SaaS that I just built for that video. It was a very compelling piece of outreach. And I want you guys to know that you can use this at any level of the stack. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to lovable.dev. Now, I'm not affiliated with them, but there are a variety of plans that you can jump on if you guys want to do this stuff at scale. I believe the initial plan allows you to do 10 messages or something like that. What I am going to do is I'm going to ask Lovable to create a form that my customer or my client can fill out in order to generate a proposal, okay? Now, because I want to minimize the number of messages I'm going to do, what I'm actually going to do is just have this, I'm just going to try and write as long of a prompt as humanly possible. So, create a high quality, sleek, minimalistic, dark mode. I'm just making this up on the fly, so it doesn't really matter too much what you say here. Just want to make sure we hit all the story beats. Create a high quality, sleek, minimalistic, dark mode form that, when filled, sends data to, then I'm going to add the webhook call here and waits for a result. Okay, so we're going to send that form data, then we're going to get the result. Upon a result, so I'll populate a dashboard-like interface with a link to the generated proposal, time that it was generated, and let me think, what else do we really want? A copy of the email that was sent. Okay, great. Let me add some more context here. The form is a proposal generator form. that salespeople will use to log sales. If they tap, if they select the option to do so, it'll go and send the proposal to the end customer. Here are the fields you should have in the form. Okay, so let me just run through. What kind of questions did we have? We had first name, last name, email, and company. First name, last name, email, company. Cool. Just going to put X here. What was the outcome of the call? Which can be send proposal, no fit, meeting flaked. Let's go send proposal. Then paste in a one description sentence of their business. What's their problem? Then I'll go, what's their solution? And then finally, I'll go, what are the platforms or services you'll use during development? Before asking how long will the project take? And then ultimately, how much do you want to charge them? Number field. And then finally, I'm just going to say 0 for now. Any additional costs from platforms? Okay, great. Upon the result, populate dashboard-like interface with, there should be room for multiple of these. Okay, great. And then let me think, is there anything else we need in this? I don't think so. Oh, maybe we'll add something with the client logo. Okay. Add the client logo in the top left-hand corner. So I'm going to go to onesecondcopy.com. I'm going to just network request and see if I can grab this icon, which I can. Okay, that looks good. So I'm just going to copy this over and then, sorry, just wrong tab here. We'll go back to this. Cool. Now I'm going to press go. What is Lovable going to do? Lovable is essentially going to grab the simplest framework to be used to build this thing out, which is probably going to be Next.js. And it's going to get about 80% of the way there, I'd say. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be pretty good. While I'm waiting for this to happen, and it's already working through it, it's actually populating a bunch of code files with styles and stuff like that. I'm just going to go back to my make.com scenario, then where it says generate proposal. I'm just going to see what fields I'm going to need to replace here, just so I'm nice and ready and I can make this video short. So I'm going to keep all of the same stuff in this flow that I had before. And I think that's the real cool nugget of this. You literally get to keep everything in the flow the exact same, except for the input. And the only thing you have to do, so we just need to add a webhook response at the end, which I'll show you how to do, and then maybe just change the mapping of some fields. I mean, this is it's like a 5, maybe like a 10-minute job, okay? Okay, so all the way down here, it looks like I'm going to have to get the business description, problem, solution, and then tools. Okay, great. So I'm just going to map all those from my webhook after I know what the fields are. Then over here, we're going to need to probably remap some of these variables, right? So title will need to be remapped, obviously. Milestone, those will need to be remapped. Down here, the price will need to be remapped. Fair enough. And then price. Okay, and then in the email, looks like I'm going to have to map the email address, and then I'm going to have to change these two. Cool, that's pretty easy. Why don't I next go webhook, and I'll go webhook response. Then let's just head back over here and see how we're doing on the projection side. So it's actually going and it's filling in our index page, which means that we're actually pretty close to being done here, which is pretty sweet. Now, there may be some issues with the logo because I think my logo doesn't have a transparent background. I'll have to double check. But now it's actually creating the page. And it's going to go and it's going to show me pretty soon. The really cool thing about Lovable is it just hosts it all for you too. You just don't have to do anything. Awesome. Cool. Look at this. So we have the logo, top left-hand corner. It says 1 second copy right next to it. I didn't even ask for it to do so. Proposal generator, generate professional client proposals in seconds. Fill out the form below to create your next winning proposal. This is really, really nice. We can access this just by clicking on this button, and it'll go straight to a full page version of this website right over here. Okay. We have all of the same questions we had before, and it looks like we have a dashboard section. Okay. So I'm going to go through and the left-hand side here, and I'm going to see what it says. Okay, what's next? Refine and customize, tweak the design, animations, and layouts via prompts. Fine. Master prompting, GitHub sync, debug with ease, add project knowledge. Okay. So as I mentioned, this is going to make it about 80% of the way there. Okay. We're going to send and receive some data. It's probably just going to store it in the window for now. So we may have to connect what's called a Supabase or like a little simple database in order for it to like update and add information dynamically and stuff. But we'll cover all that in a second. Let's just make sure we can actually send data to our make scenario. All right. So first things first, I'm just going to go back here, unlink this, and then I'm going to grab this. I'm just going to run it. Okay. The reason why I'm running it, obviously, is I just want to verify that I can actually send the data out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go here and put in some information. We'll go Nick, Sarif, Nicola. I'll just fill in most of the same information that I did before. What's the outcome? We're going to send the proposal. 1 second copy is a content marketing business. What's the client's problem? Oh, geez. It's kind of annoying that I can't actually just paste it. When I was developing this, I actually created a bunch of fields here specifically so that I could copy and paste them when testing the form, just because that makes my job a lot easier, right? Especially when we're AI generating stuff, you just want some high quality content to go off of. What platforms or services will we use during development? Make, Apollo, Appify, and Instantly, and then we'll go 2 weeks. Project charge will be $500, and no. Cool. So I'm going to click generate proposal and we'll see what happens. Okay, great. So it'll say fail to generate proposal down over here, which you guys might not be able to see because of my head, but it'll do so because it just didn't receive anything from my webhook, right? But now if we go back to my webhook, check it out. I've already received all of the data. What does that mean? We've actually connected our own form. So I basically just saved my customer $500 a year or more in Typeform costs just by creating my own form in just like 15, I don't know, we're not even at 15 minutes yet. Okay. So now what am I going to do? Well, all I need to do is just map these fields. Same thing that I did before, right? Not super hard. So let's go. I'm going to connect this to the previous flow. Just delete this. We have a filter here called send proposal. This is just how make works. So I'm going to go call outcome has to equal send underscore proposal. Beautiful. Now under the generate proposal side of things, I'm just going to map the new variables, which are probably going to be pretty simple. Let's scroll down and let's see for ourselves. Business description, right? That was that one line business description. So we feed that in. Problem, let's go to problem. Solution, let's go to solution. And then tools, let's go to platforms. Looks like they changed the name from tools to platforms for us. That's fine. Now we'll generate milestones or timelines. Scroll all the way down here again to where I'm remapping my data. The solution was this. Then a rough timeline was project duration. Wonderful. Anything else? Nope. That's it. Let's go over to our actual generator here. And now we just need to fill in the client email. Okay. Client company, client first name, client last name. We're going to vibe code ourselves a $5,000 proposal generator SaaS. And we're going to add the price, which is just going to be a number. And then we still have a few more. We got to do this price as well, which I believe is also just the same number. I'm not entirely sure about this, so just give it a go. Then down over here is just the name. Hey, Nick, just following up. The email here is going to be Nick. And then we're going to fill in the actual email copy with, hey, Nick, I just sent over a detailed proposal for, and we're going to feed in the company name a moment ago in PandaDoc. Very cool. Awesome. Awesome. Now, what do we have to do? Well, we have to send some sort of response to my service. So I'm going to tell it what the fields are and stuff like that later. But essentially what we're going to need is we're going to need a link to the PandaDoc, right? So let's just run this through start to finish once. Okay, so we're going to get one more error in Lovable. We'll run this through start to finish once so that we know all the fields that we're going to feed into that webhook response. And then what will happen is when Lovable calls this, okay, Lovable will call, it'll do it, and then we're actually going to return it back to Lovable, which I'm just going to use as a heart because I don't have access to my usual tablet. Okay, so that's what that webhook response is for. For now, we're just not going to do it because I don't really want to. Yeah, I'd prefer just to like 404 it out and we can see the data. All right, so let's run this again. Okay, and now let's go back to my fields here and let's put in the information again. 1 second copy. Don't mind if I do. We're going to paste in a 1-sentence description of a business is a content marketing company that produces high quality journalistic style content. What was the problem again? Well, let's paste it in from here. The problem was they are manually sourcing leads from Instagram. The solution is they have a lead generation system. And the platforms or services were, I think I just said, Make.com, Apollo, Appify, and Instantly. Finally, the project duration was 2 weeks, and let's say $500 here with no additional costs. Okay. Actually, we should add some additional costs just in case. Okay, we now have the data inside of Make.com. Beautiful. We are now going to be generating that proposal, aka doing all the stuff that the system normally did in Typeform. We're now just doing it all directly ourselves, eliminating a form platform and just a lot of complexity. Obviously, we're also branding this as our own client and so on and so forth. I'll like change the colors up a little bit and stuff. But hopefully you guys can see, if you just provided a color palette, it would do a pretty good job. Okay, now it's actually going to go and it's going to send the proposal, and then it's even going to go and send an email so we can actually go and see how this looks. Looks like there was an error with the email, and that was because there's an invalid email address in parameter 2. Uh-oh, I might have not filled out the email. Oh, sorry, I used the first name instead of the email. Silly me. Just feed that in there. But that's okay. We still finished and generated the proposal, so we can actually go through and we can make sure that everything on that front is fine. Let me just copy this into an incognito tab just because I don't want it to appear that I'm accessing it through my own account. Cool. So it took the price, 500, cut it in half. That's what my system normally does. Awesome. It correctly filled in all of the issues. It automatically did all of that work. Automatically added the timelines, automatically added the costs. Wow, very cool, very cool. I'm impressed. It looks like I failed to map one field here, so I'm just going to jump in and edit that. But yeah, I mean, this worked and it did everything that I wanted it to do. So all I'm going to do is I fixed that email field earlier. Now I'm just going to fix up this other charge field, which would be additional costs. Cool. We should now be good. So what we have now is we basically have all of the data that we need, right? We have the email copy. We got like the document ID of the Panda doc. We got everything. So what do? Well, we just need to feed in a proposal URL to Lovable. And then we need to tell Lovable, hey, where's the proposal URL? Just so, the customer has access to it in some sort of database structure. Okay. So this over here are some PandaDoc templates. If I convert this to a document, what ends up happening is the URL will change. Notice how we just went from a whatever to a whatever hashtag documents. Now we have an ID, okay? Well, what's really cool is if I just go to this make scenario, then if I steal this ID from the completed output, I paste it in here, okay? This is actually going to take me to the generated proposal, the one that I just generated a moment ago, which means we can actually just add the URL really simply by going to the webhook URL and then typing in proposal URL, and it will be the PandaDoc URL with the document ID appended to it, okay? What else do we want? We want the email body. Okay, so don't really think we can actually get the whole email body. Do we even want the email body? Maybe not. Maybe we don't actually want the email body. I wonder can we do this in linked through the message ID here? Let me see. I'm not really sure. If I were to test this, go nicholassarayev@gmail.com, Nick, and then 1 second. If I were just to test this, what would the output of this module be? Looks like we get a message ID, which is this long thing right over here. Interesting. Is that at all related to what is up here? No, that's not related to what is up here. Okay, so I changed my mind. We're not actually going to send back the email. That's fine. We're just going to have the proposal. I think that's easier anyway. Anything else we need to do? Date, time, sent. You can go like date, sent. And we could just feed in the date created, right? We're just going to give Lovable access to all this. Maybe we should just feed in all of the data that we just fed in, right? Yeah, probably. Let's do that. First name, this. I'm just going to copy this. Go here and I'll say, turn these key names into JSON with empty spaces. I'm going to feed that in. I'm just going to have it go and produce me the JSON so I could just paste it in here. Kind of cheating, I know, but what are you going to do? First name, last name, email, company, call outcome, business description, problem, solution. Very nice. Ooh, how cool is that? Now I'm just going to have to map the variables, right? And I guess this is all on Uline, so maybe I go to JSON formatter here and then I format and beautify this. There you go. So first name is going to be, let's see, first name, last name, email, company, call outcome, business description, problem, solution, platforms, project duration, charge, and finally additional costs. Awesome. So this is the data that I'm going to be sending back. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I will feed this in again and I'll say remove all of the values. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to tell Lovable the data will be returned. Great. The data that is sent back after the webhook call will look exactly like this. Oops, wrong one. Let's copy this. Except the fields will be filled. update update the dashboard to populate upon receipt of this data. And then I'll say, if you need me to do something about the database, let me know what that is. And we can actually hook this up to a database of some kind for the customer. And now it's going to go through and it's going to, again, math out the next steps. But yeah, on our end, automation is good to go. We've done it. We've connected one side to the other. This is essentially like a product now. And the cool thing is, as you saw earlier, you literally just like grab the URL of this and it's live. Like this is what you would send to your customer. Or alternatively, you could get a custom domain called like, proposalgenerator.onesecondcopy.com. How cool is that from a branded perspective? All right, what it's doing now is it's updating the dashboard component to properly handle and display the data received after the webhook call. So it's actually going to go and it's going to change the logic so that the logic maps the same fields that I showed you guys earlier. That's all of this stuff right here, right? Pretty cool, pretty cool. Oh, and I think it's using email content as well, unfortunately, which is not what we need, but is what it is. Okay, let us now grab this app, okay, because it just finished. We're going to use local storage for persistence right now, so maybe we might not even need a database, although, if you do sell this exact product to people, note that you will need some sort of database. 1 Second Copy is a content marketing business. Client problem was right over here. Let's paste that in one more time. Then client solution was right over here. Let's paste that in one more time. We'll go make, Apollo, Appify. We'll go 2 weeks, 500, and then 50. Now I'm just going to make sure this is running. This is live. I'm going to generate the proposal and let's see if this works. It's now waiting for me to generate the proposal. So it is not saying that anything failed yet. Okay. It's actually saying the term generating right now, which is cool. That's a really good sign. Shows that, the system put in some logic to wait for this webhook to respond. Now, some of them have timeouts. So we're going to see if maybe we need to implement some sort of, infinite timeout or whatever. Just wait until the request is done. We'll see. Proposal is generating. And when you are using an AI module, just note that generally it's best practice to have some sort of flexibility on the app end just in case. So now it's going and it's sending the proposal and it's sending the webhook response. Proposal generated successfully, it says. Very cool. Now, if you go to dashboard, notice there's a little one next to it. Give it a click. Ooh, look at that. All good to go. This, I guess, is the action, send proposal. This is to the lead. This is the company name. This is when it was generated. Hell, this is an email preview that it hallucinated, which is obviously not what we want. But if I click this button, I can actually view the proposal. Oh, weird how I can't actually view the proposal. We should probably update that view proposal button to have a link to the live proposal, huh? So that's what I'm going to do next. Excellent. Now update the view proposal button on the generated ones to include a link directly to the proposal URL that was returned by the webhook call. Excellent. And then let me just see, is there anything else that we want changed here? Any other aspect? Then I'll just say, also change the styles, change the colors of the site so that they're a little bit green, just a tinge. And let's do, what's British Racing Green? Is that what it's called? That really dark one? Oh, I love British Racing Green. Cool. Let's see how it works with this. So now it's actually going through the proposal dashboard. And it's basically taking the pre-existing one, and then it's just making some minor updates to it. So in order to do this, unfortunately, it has to rewrite the whole thing, which is kind of annoying from their perspective, but doesn't really do much to our perspective except for just take a little bit more time to do the generating. Now it's just going to make this all slightly greener, I hope. We'll give it a look. There's that new racing green color. Got the new colors. It's actually just adding this to the styles across the whole website. So, maybe you feed this in as a call to the service, and then you say, hey, could you, make sure it adheres to the brand guidelines, okay? And this looks really, really clean. Now, I don't like how the title is also British Racing Green, but we could just have it change that to white. But this looks way cleaner. Oh, and look, there's even a little bit of blur in the background up at the top. So nice. All right, let's test this out again. And let me actually just open up a whole new link here. Very nice, very nice. We have a dashboard link right over here. If If I click this view proposal button, I think nothing's coming up specifically because I haven't actually done this. Oh, but it looks like they even added an additional feature here where you can see all of the proposal details at a glance. Very cool. So I'm going to submit another proposal right now. We're going to see if it populates this dashboard again and then adds a 2 to it. We'll say send proposal. 1 Second Copy is a content writing company that specializes in journalistic style, high quality pieces. Very cool. And then, looks like I've lost the problem. Well, I want this to be good, so why don't I go post discovery call form, not post Malone, then copy over these fields once more. No, I don't need that. I can get that though. And I can get that. And then we'll do make Apollo Appify, 2 weeks, and then 500, and then 50. Cool. Let's run this now, make sure that this is good to go. And let me just change this so that instead of being GPT 4.5, it just takes a lot longer. We'll just do GPT 4.0. That way, any future tests that I may have to do are just going to be substantially faster. I think it'll be smart enough that it'll still be able to do a reasonable job. Although, to be fair, if you are generating something that is that close to money, because that is pretty close to money, generally, you want it to be as high quality as possible. So if it costs you 5 cents to generate a proposal, who really cares? That 5 cents is for a $1,000 project, realistically. That'll improve the probability of you closing by 2%. It's worth it, right? Anyway, for demo purposes, finished a little bit faster. Now we're going through, we're sending the proposal, sending the email, and then the webhook. And let's just see what it looks like on our end. Proposal generated successfully. Cool. If I go back to dashboard, we have 2. Look at that. Oh, very cool. Very cool. It's right over here. Now, I'm still not seeing a button with the actual proposal URL, which is unfortunate. I'm not really sure what's going on with that. So we're going to have to find a way to fix this. Let's have it do, oh, it looks like it's saying build unsuccessful. Let's have it do 2 more changes. 2 more changes. I'll say 1, change the text of the logo, text next to the logo, 1 Second Copy, so that it's pure white. And then 2, let me see what's going on with this view button. Change the view button link so that it links directly to the generated proposal. This is kind of making me think, is this getting the proposal right now? Maybe it's not getting the proposal. Maybe that's why this isn't doing populating the way that I want it to. Well, we are sending back all of this data, so it probably is. Let me just quadruple check here. We sent back this data, right? Let's go back here. Right now, it's not linking anything. Also, just remove email content, as I'm not sending that back. Here is the updated webhook response. These are all real values, but just treat it so you can use it to template out the view button link on the dashboard. Okay. Lovable built us out a beautiful looking form that we fill out that generates a high quality proposal. So when I click generate proposal, I end up with this little modal in the bottom left-hand corner. And then if I go back to my scenario, it's AI generating the bits and pieces, sending an email, and then finally it'll generate the webhook response as well. After proposal is generated successfully, if I go back up to the top here, you'll see this dashboard is now populated with a 1. If I give that a click, you can see that this actually now provides a bunch of context about the proposal. I can go to details, scroll up and down, and just see various pieces of this. And then if I click view proposal, it'll actually take me directly to the PandaDoc proposal that we generated, which in this case is a pretty high quality asset. It's something, again, that I've sold for up to about $100,000 or so, a little bit less than that. Hopefully you guys appreciated the video, had a lot of fun putting that together. As you see, this is essentially a free win. I mean, we just dragged and dropped a couple of nodes from a pre-existing flow into a new one, and then we just asked Lovable what we wanted to do in plain language. We went back and forth 5 or 6 times, and eventually we got a finished app. I think you guys could probably see what I mean when I refer to this as like a free win. It's a free and easy way to massively improve the amount of money that you are charging for a product because you're also improving the perceived value. Like obviously we could have strung the same system together with 3 or 4 different platforms platforms, right? Could have Typeform on the front end, for instance, and maybe some other thing on the back end. But hopefully, I think you guys are understanding what I mean by when you package it into this nice one-size-fits-all page, and you add a custom domains that it's like proposalgenerator.onesecondcopy.com. Customers, particularly the less technologically oriented customers, will usually see this as being a lot higher value and a lot higher quality. And then this also just eliminates some of the headache for them. Like I usually have my customers pay for the software platforms. Customer doesn't need to pay for any software platform here. It's me just doing it all through Lovable, and then we host it on their website through a link, right? Super easy, super quick, and super simple. If you guys like this sort of stuff, you guys like seeing me employ new product generation mechanisms to pre-existing AI automations, definitely check out Maker School, where I talk a lot more about this and a bunch of other approaches in detail. This is the simplest and straightest line roadmap to go from 0 to 1 and get your very first paying AI automation customer. We guarantee that you will do so within 90 days, your money back. So there's really no risk as long as you're willing to put the work in and be accountable to yourself and others. If you guys already have a pre-existing business, you guys want to scale it up further, check out makemoneywithmake.com. It's kind of like my mid-ticket community where I'm personally active every single day. And then I also do a weekly office hour where you can come to me with any questions, concerns, problems, or anything that you really need. All right. I know that was quite the mouthful, so I'll leave you there. Please like, subscribe to all that fun YouTube stuff. I'll catch you on the next video. And thank you very much for watching. Cheers.